On a clear Tuesday morning, the world watched in horror as unimaginable acts of terrorism unfolded in the United States. September 11, 2001, etched itself into history, forever altering the global landscape. The events of that day not only claimed thousands of innocent lives but also reshaped international relations, security measures, and the very fabric of society. This essay explores the 9/11 attacks, their immediate aftermath, and their lasting impact on the world. The attacks, orchestrated by the extremist group Al-Qaeda, shook the foundations of American society and reverberated across the globe. The scale of the tragedy and the audacity of the attacks left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness. This exploration delves into the details of that fateful day, examining the events, the motivations behind them, and the profound consequences that continue to shape our world. The 9/11's attacks serve as a stark reminder of the human capacity for both immense destruction and extraordinary resilience. They underscore the importance of understanding the roots of extremism and the need for global cooperation in combating terrorism. As we reflect on the events of that day, we must also remember the victims, honor their memory, and learn from the past to build a safer and more peaceful future. The 9/11's attacks targeted key symbols of American power and economic might. 4 coordinated terrorist attacks were carried out by 19 Al-Qaeda terrorists who hijacked 4 commercial airliners. The first 2 planes, American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175, crashed into the north and south towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. The impact, followed by raging fires, caused both towers to collapse within 2 hours. The third plane, American Airlines Flight 77, targeted the Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense located in Arlington, Virginia. The impact caused a partial collapse of the building's west side. The fourth and final plane, United Airlines Flight 93, was initially headed towards Washington, D.C., but crashed in a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, after passengers and crew members fought back against the hijackers. The scale of the attacks was unprecedented in American history. The collapse of the Twin Towers resulted in the deaths of 2,753 people, including first responders who rushed to the scene. The attack on the Pentagon claimed 184 lives, and the crash of Flight 93 claimed 40 lives. The total death toll from the 9/11 attacks reached 2,977, making it the deadliest terrorist attack in human history. The 9/11's attacks were planned and executed by Al-Qaeda, an Islamic extremist terrorist organization founded by Osama bin Laden. The group's ideology was based on a radical interpretation of Islam, fueled by anti-American sentiment and a desire to establish a global Islamic caliphate. Al-Qaeda viewed the United States as a symbol of Western imperialism and a threat to Islam. Bin Laden, the mastermind behind the attacks, issued a fatwa, or religious decree, in 1998 calling for the killing of Americans and their allies anywhere in the world. He cited U.S. support for Israel, the presence of U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia, and sanctions against Iraq as justifications for the attacks. The planning for 9/11's took years, involving meticulous recruitment, training, and coordination of the hijackers. The hijackers, mostly from Saudi Arabia and other Middle Eastern countries, received training in Afghanistan and Germany. They learned to fly commercial aircraft and honed their skills in hand-to-hand combat. The operation was financed through a complex network of donors and supporters spread across the globe. The meticulous planning and execution of the attacks revealed a chilling level of sophistication and a deep-seated hatred for the West. The immediate aftermath of the 9/11's attacks was marked by chaos, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of disbelief. The collapse of the Twin Towers created a massive dust cloud that enveloped lower Manhattan, blanketing the city in a thick haze. Thousands of people fled the area on foot, covered in debris and ash, as emergency responders raced to the scene. Amidst the devastation and despair, stories of extraordinary courage and selflessness emerged. First responders, including firefighters, police officers, and paramedics, risked their lives to rescue survivors and recover the fallen. Ordinary citizens also stepped up to help, offering food, water, and shelter to those displaced by the attacks. The spirit of unity and resilience shone through the darkness. The attacks had an immediate and profound impact on American society. The nation was united in grief and outrage, demanding justice for the victims and vowing to never forget the tragedy. The attacks also sparked a wave of patriotism and national unity as Americans rallied behind their leaders and supported the military response to the attacks. A world transformed security and policy shifts. The 9/11's attacks had far-reaching consequences that extended far beyond American borders. They triggered a global shift in security policies, with countries around the world implementing stricter airport security measures, increasing surveillance, and strengthening border controls. These events also led to the creation of new government agencies, such as the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, tasked with preventing future terrorist attacks. Furthermore, the attacks had a profound impact on U.S. foreign policy. The Bush administration launched the War on Terror, a global campaign aimed at dismantling terrorist organizations and preventing future attacks. The U.S. invaded Afghanistan in 2001 to topple the Taliban regime, which had provided safe haven to al-Qaeda. The war in Iraq, launched in 2003, was also framed as part of the War on Terror, although its justification remains controversial. The 9/11's attacks also led to a surge in Islamophobia and discrimination against Muslims around the world. Muslims were often stereotyped as terrorists and subjected to increased scrutiny and suspicion. This period also fueled a debate about the balance between security and civil liberties, as governments grappled with the challenge of preventing terrorism while protecting individual rights. Remembering the fallen memorials and reflections. In the wake of the 9/11's attacks, memorials were erected around the world to honor the victims and serve as solemn reminders of the tragedy. The National September 11th Memorial and Museum, located at Ground Zero in New York City, features two reflecting pools that mark the footprints of the Twin Towers, surrounded by bronze parapets inscribed with the names of the victims. The Pentagon Memorial, located in Arlington, Virginia, consists of 184 illuminated benches, each representing a victim of the attack. The Flight 93 National Memorial, located near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, features a wall of names commemorating the passengers and crew members who lost their lives. These memorials serve as sacred spaces for reflection, remembrance, and healing. The 9/11's attacks also inspired countless personal stories of loss, resilience, and hope. Survivors of the attacks shared their harrowing experiences, offering insights into the human cost of terrorism. Families of the victims found solace in supporting one another and keeping the memory of their loved ones alive. The attacks also prompted a collective reflection on the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. Lessons learned, shaping policy and society. The 9/11's attacks taught the world valuable lessons about the evolving nature of terrorism and the need for global cooperation in combating extremism. The attacks highlighted the vulnerability of open societies to unconventional forms of attack and the need for enhanced security measures to protect critical infrastructure and public spaces. The attacks also underscored the importance of intelligence sharing and international collaboration in tracking down terrorist networks and disrupting their operations. The attacks prompted a renewed focus on counterterrorism efforts, with countries around the world strengthening their law enforcement agencies, enhancing border security, and investing in technologies to detect and prevent terrorist attacks. The 9/11's attacks also sparked a debate about the root causes of terrorism and the need to address the underlying social, economic, and political grievances that fuel extremism. The attacks served as a wake-up call to the dangers of religious intolerance, political oppression, and social inequality, prompting calls for greater understanding, dialogue, and cooperation across cultures and religions. The enduring legacy of 9/11's. The 9/11's attacks left an enduring legacy on the world, shaping global politics, security policies, and the very fabric of society. The attacks served as a stark reminder of the human capacity for both immense destruction and extraordinary resilience. They underscore the importance of understanding the roots of extremism and the need for global cooperation in combating terrorism. The attacks also highlighted the fragility of peace and the importance of diplomacy, dialogue, and understanding in bridging divides and promoting tolerance. The attacks prompted a collective reflection on the values of freedom, democracy, and human rights, and the need to safeguard these values against the forces of hatred and extremism. The 9/11's attacks serve as a solemn reminder that the pursuit of peace and security is an ongoing endeavor. They underscore the need for vigilance, resilience, and a commitment to working together to create a safer and more just world for all. The attacks also remind us of the importance of remembering the victims, honoring their memory, and learning from the past to build a better future. Remembering and moving forward. 2 decades after the 9/11 attacks, the world continues to grapple with the legacy of that tragic day. The attacks serve as a reminder of the ongoing threat of terrorism and the need for continued vigilance in protecting our societies from those who seek to do us harm. They also remind us of the importance of unity, resilience, and a commitment to upholding the values of freedom, democracy, and human rights. As we move forward, it is essential to remember the victims of the 9/11 attacks and to honor their memory by working to create a more peaceful and just world. We must learn from the mistakes of the past and strive to build a future where understanding, cooperation, and respect for human dignity prevail. The 9/11 attacks were a tragedy of immense proportions, but they also revealed the inherent goodness and resilience of the human spirit. Let us never forget the lessons of 9/11, and let us continue to work together to build a world where such tragedies are never repeated. Let us remember the victims, honor their memory, and strive to create a future where peace, justice, and understanding prevail. The 9/11 attacks may have changed our world, but they did not break our spirit. We must continue to move forward with hope, determination, and a shared commitment to building a better future for all.